Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. I'm excited for this show today, Justin. We've got a lot to talk about. I feel like we've kind of filled some of the agenda of some of these shows because who wants to talk about this team that just continues to lose and lose every single week in the nature that we continue to lose in? So we're wrapping in some other topics for you all because we have a stake in some of these, and I think you all probably should have a stake in some of these as well. If you're local or if you just want to support our development in City Two, we'll mix in some of that. And if you're catching us live right now, we're at halftime as the men's national team for the U.S. is taking on Japan in the final friendly of the October camp. Japan is number 17 in the FIFA rankings right now, and they're up 1-0 going into half. A very shocking result, Justin, after what we witnessed on the weekend, which we'll get into here. But how you feeling, man? Happy Tuesday. Hope the week's been good to you so far.
Yeah, it's been busy. Beautiful weather. Been watching, trying to catch up on a little bit of this, doing the prep for the pod, but then also watching the U.S. men's national team. Yeah, it was a great ball. Max Arfson does a little step over with his right, goes down to the corner, crosses it in. Zendejas with a one-timer from probably 12 yards, 16 yards out, and into the side netting with his left foot. So it was a great finish. I'm looking forward. I feel like we've created a lot of chances. I would say it's a little bit more open in this game. I feel like when I was kind of looking up and trying to do a couple different things, I'm just seeing the ball in the keeper's hands on both ends and a couple different saves here or there, which, I mean, at this point, give me something exciting with this U.S. men's national team. There's a lot of question marks that's been going on, whether it be the documentaries and what those guys are saying versus you got like Landon Donovan and all them, but also like what's going on with Poach and what are we doing with this squad. So I'm just happy to see that we're doing a little bit of performance, getting a little bit of chemistry out there because we don't have a lot of games left for the World Cup, as we've already mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we just talk about the national team to start here, Justin? So, Japan, like I said, number 17 in the country in the 2022 World Cup. They beat Germany in their opener. Then they beat Spain in their next one. And they lost to Costa Rica in their third one. And they were eliminated in the round of 16 in PKs by Croatia. But this is a good team. I think both them and South Korea offer us much more of the challenge. I know they're friendlies. But I'd rather them against these types of teams that we could feature or we could play against in the upcoming World Cup here on home turf. For those, before we get into the bigger topics, the U.S., Justin, keeping score here. So we have this match. This is the end of October camp. November, we have another camp. We're playing Ecuador, number 25, on October 10th. We're playing Australia, number 24, on October 14th. Those Ecuador excites me a lot more than Australia. I think Ecuador will be a tough team. And then we also have November friendlies as well. Paraguay and Uruguay. Uruguay being a lot more of that big brand name in Chester and Tampa, respectively. And then finally, this just broke today, Justin, that we are working on getting a friendly with Portugal scheduled as a World Cup sort of tune-up in March in Atlanta. Next year. So you can see a big emphasis on our trying to both play here domestically because we are going to play these games obviously domestically in the World Cup, but just trying to get as big of names and as better of teams as possible to really test out the group in because it's been really, really rough to watch, man. I mean, when I saw Pochettino was hired, Justin, I'm sure you and I talked about this. I think we all had an excitement for the vision, and he brought this grandiose verbiage and way to talk about the game here in the U.S. and where he wanted to see the program go. And I really, frankly, believe that we haven't gotten anywhere close to that. Maybe even you could reckon a couple steps backwards in terms of what we see, right? Because it doesn't fill us with optimism. Seeing that 2-0 against South Korea, we just look a little bit lost out there. I'm watching this game and I'm feeling a little bit better because the back five seems to be a direction that we could jump onto and really get some more continuity in terms of attacking flow and defense in this team. But I want to hear your take, Justin, because I mean we've been sinking a lot of hopes into the golden generation and 2026 home World Cup. Where is your excitement meter at in terms of can this team do something special?
My excitement meter is still through the roof, Jake, because it's still the World Cup in the U.S. Yes, we have some question marks here or there, but it's still, in my opinion, the most talented group of guys that we're going to have. Yes, they have not played all together, and we're losing a little bit of chemistry and time there, but I'm not that concerned about it. Because at some point, these guys just know each other, and once they get back into a camp before the World Cup, I feel like they're just going to start gelling, and I don't want to wait that long. Yes, that's a little optimistic there, but also, if you didn't read the rest of that article, Jake, it's not just Portugal. We're looking to sign with Belgium as well. It would also be in Atlanta. So that would both be in March with the World Cup kicking off on June 11th. So we have plenty of time for these guys to get together. They already know each other. These guys have played plenty of games together. It's not like they're just going to be meeting each other for the first time. Yes, I would love to see it in action now in September, But we still have, what does that make it? 9 10 months, 9 months before the World Cup. I'm not overly concerned. Yeah, the results haven't been great, but they're still friendlies. To your point, I want to consider this all as is this time of the year. Look at preseason NFL. That's what I think this is like, Jake. It's just kind of seeing what else can we do. And I see Poach kind of tinkering with some of these guys. A lot of these guys I don't think are even going to be called up into the World Cup, but he's wondering which ones do I need to make that are on the fringe right now. And that's what he's looking for. So my excitement is extremely high. I'm going to announce this anyways because my luck is probably not that great. But going into tomorrow is when the first drop of the draw of the World Cup tickets goes. So if anybody hasn't signed up, go to FIFA.com and you can register, and then you can possibly get an email. I know I'm diluting my chances, but Jake, we only have a couple hundred people that are listening to this anyway. So that's not going to really affect me, but I'm excited for it. And I plan on going to a couple games.
Yeah, no, I do too. And it's going to be, I guess excitement meter was the wrong way to say it. I guess a lot of people were hitting the panic button online after that South Korea, just because I think we all really thought we'd be somewhere different than where we are now with Pochettino in the U.S. But, there's been off the field drama between Pulisic and Pochettino and Weah and guys calling out the old generation. And it's not the vibes that I think we really wanted heading into a home World Cup. But here's the deal. All that matters is what happens at that World Cup. And if we do well there, all that happened before there is just noise, right? So if Pochettino can get the guys up for the big show on home turf, I don't think any of this, it'll all be water under the bridge. And I'm just hoping we start to trend that direction. Because he did say, Justin, after this camp roster, he said, no more like picking these new guys or looking at new guys. He's like, basically from October camp onwards, it is, if the World Cup was starting tomorrow, who are my guys? So we're going to see, as close to our full strength, team starting from October, going November, and then to the rest of the camps. There's only, I think, 3 or 4 after this. So that makes me excited. Like that continuity, the chemistry should really come into fruition there. But again, it just has not been smooth sailing.
Yeah, and we're also going to be getting these guys back into the swing of things. If you think about it, they're also coming off of like their summer, kind of a little bit of freedom time, getting used to their teams. That's why we don't have like Musa and some of these other guys joining this camp. But I also want to pump the brakes if we do get the Portugal-Belgium game. Let's remember they're number 6 in the world and number 8 in the world currently. So if we lose 2 more games going before that, people are going to be throwing red flags everywhere and scared about this World Cup. I'm excited regardless, Jake. And honestly, to be a knock on wood, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but we're going to have a couple of tune-ups in the group stage games with this World Cup now being 48 teams. And yes, I understand that we are still struggling with some of these teams in the teens and the 20s that we're playing right now, but we should have at least a game or 2 in that sense. And we're going to have a couple closed door friendlies and all of this. We have plenty of time. Let's pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Let's just be excited to be hosting the World Cup.
Last comment I'll make on that what you said, Justin, because that's important too, is for us, I don't really feel like any game's a tune-up game when it comes to a big competition like that, but I get what you're saying. And I think it's especially pertinent because given we're host nation for this as well, we're going to have a great, we'll be in a higher pot than we would definitely normally be in. So we'll be in a pot with the likes of some of the best teams in the world. Think about your Brazils, your Germanys, your Englands, your Argentinas. So those teams should not be in our group because we're in that same pot as them. So that's a big thing. And by the way, they'll still be a huge team with us in the group. I just don't think there'll be 2 huge teams, which is nice.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to say that we get a tune-up for game because once you're in the World Cup, beat whatever team you need to, 8-0. I don't care. So that tune-up still needs to be results. But it is, I think that we have plenty of time is what I'm getting at. And by the time that we play a true meaningful game, it'll probably be late June. And I can't do math in my head right now, but that's like 10 months away.
Yeah, I'm weirdly optimistic, but I'll leave it at that. I want to cover, Justin, the other couple teams before we jump in and just do all City for the rest of the way here. City 2, I'll cover briefly. No City 2 game to talk about. They'll resume play this Friday on the 12th against Minnesota United FC 2 at Energizer Park at 7 p.m., looking to keep the 15-match unbeaten streak intact as they cruise their way into the playoffs here. And I mean, solidly in the number 1 seed. So super excited for the boys there. Obviously, we're seeing them play for us right now. And Joyner didn't get to see this weekend, but we got to see McSorley, which was fun. But SLU, Justin. SLU, obviously, we've been covering some updates on. Men's and women's are off and running. The men's side, I'll take here, Justin, to start. We're tuning into the IU game on Wednesday. We talked about it because I think we were recording the night before. IU number 3, remember, number 3 in the coaches' polls. That was our first goal allowed of the season. We lost 1-0 to them. And from what I heard, there actually talked to some folks that were there, Justin. It was really close. We obviously put out the whatever you want to call that mess of a couple different chances that SLU had to put the ball back in the net. It just wasn't going for them. IU also great team. Got to tip your cap to them. But they didn't harp in it. They came home on Sunday and they beat SIUE for the first time, I believe, in 2 years in the Bronze Boot game. Great to get the trophy back here on the home turf. And they're moving 3-1-1 on the season. Only conceded 2 goals, number 24 in the rankings now. So still in there despite the loss, again, to a really good team. Justin, I'm excited. And they got a big team coming to town here as well this Friday. So Friday's full of soccer between City 2 and SLU Men's.
Absolutely. So these, I cannot believe that we did not put the ball in the back of the net in that game against IU. But like you said, it's been an exciting season already for these guys and bringing in another nationally ranked team. So we are currently ranked number 24 in the United Soccer Coaches Rankings, which is NCAA.com. But they're back in action, like you mentioned, at Herman Stadium. So if you have nothing to do on Friday night, get down there 7 p.m. against Portland. You're like, okay, what's that game? No, Portland's number 9 in the nation, and they are strong. They're 5-0. They have 5 straight shutouts as well to start the year, and they've outscored their opponents 18-0. That means if you do that math real quick, they're averaging over 3 goals a game and then have not allowed 1 so far this season. So Coach Kalish and team, they have a big task on their hands, but I am very confident that they will get the job done there as well. And then really quickly on the women, the 2-1 dub against Mo State and a 3-0 dub at SIUE did not allow a shot on target against for them. So they moved to 5-2. They're only 2 losses this season at Penn State and Iowa, which are both in the top 15. So not bad losses to have right now. And it's Katie Shields is obviously an incredible coach and has those girls playing very well. They're back at home against Illinois State on Sunday, 9/14. It's the last game for the A10 play, which is kind of nuts, but it's starting to feel like fall out there, Jake. And so I guess it makes sense.
It is. It's just good to know there's good soccer in swing here locally. Like for you all that have been just kind of beaten to death, through watching this team this season, like you can go watch really fun products elsewhere, right? You can watch City 2, who do play at Energizer Park. Or if you don't want to go to Energizer Park because you're just too much PTSD from this season, you can go to Herman and watch SLU because they have some great stuff going on. I'm thinking SLU's going to show Portland a little piece of their mind here because they haven't really played too many, I would say strong opponents yet this season. But SLU has. Kudos to the athletic department for getting in some big scheduling, even the women's as well. I mean, scheduling Penn State, Iowa, 2 great teams. It's good to get those non-conference games up to a certain par so you can give yourself a chance at those at-large bids and whatnot when it comes to the tournament. So we'll be covering SLU for as much as we can and book it here, Justin. We will hopefully have Kevin Kalish, head coach of the men's team, on the pod next week to discuss SLU, his thoughts on City, what's gone wrong, what's gone right, and all things around that. So you all have any topics for Coach Kalish, let us know.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that to you, Jake. It'll probably just be you and Coach because I leave for Europe next Tuesday. So we're gonna be a little bit of a time difference coming up, but that's a perfect time to have Coach Kalish on because he is a wealth of knowledge and has those boys playing extremely well. But Jake, we give them a whole background on what else is going on. Obviously, if anybody's listening live, tune into the U.S. men's national team game. Pulisic rolling around on the ground. That seems pretty usual, par for the course at this point because he kind of likes to leave his legs out there. But we're up 1-0. But Jake, let's get into the FC Dallas game. Good God, I was at a wedding. Was streaming on my phone, had a little battery pack, and I was like, "Oh my God, we just got a red card!" I got the alert because I didn't realize the time. I tuned in a little late, and I saw that we got a red card, and I'm like, "Let's go!" And then I thought it was gonna be a PK, obviously, and then so obviously we didn't score there, and I was like, "Oh, but we put one away. We're gonna roll through this game." Nope, we end up letting in a goal in 3 minutes later, and turn out to be one of the hardest things to watch for the last 60 minutes after that.
Yeah. So did you watch this after you saw those goals? I was going to say, hopefully you didn't. Cause like, if that was me and it was a wedding that like I really cared about, I'd be like, okay, so it's 1-1. They're going to have a man up for the last 70 minutes. Like we could just let it hit off someone's shin and we'll find a way to hit the back of the net, but we didn't. And I wrote a bunch of notes here down, Justin, and we can talk about some of the details here and maybe we can talk about what, went wrong more thematically. Because I think that's really most important to me because as fun as it was to have that many chances and shots, people were talking about a bunch of big numbers and XG for the game. Like this to me is one of those games that just really epitomizes our weaknesses. And that is that one, you can't hold the lead, right? We blew it immediately after taking it on individual mistakes. Justin, you do the great video analysis and tell us what you would have done maybe in a difference in your defender's shoes if you were in those souls at that time. And I think this is a poor mistake made on our goal conceded off a throw-in. Comes off the training ground. Critch even mentioned in the press conference, like they just didn't do what we trained to do. And we'll talk about that press conference too. So there were some interesting tidbits in there. But with our goal, it was like a wonder strike, which we've had 2 of in the last 2 games now. I mean, Celio, God love him. I mean, that guy scores incredible goals. Like, has he ever had a average goal scored? What a goal. I know it took a deflection, but still unbelievable pace hit from outside the box there. And it's like, that's the goal out of all the chances that we had on the night. That's the goal that we score. It's shocking. Before I break into the themes, Justin, like I want to hear your bigger picture thoughts here too. Because again, I think that's where I don't want to get lost in all like there was a chance here, or Wallem had this cross here, and blah blah blah. Because really, I feel like it bubbles up to some really important things. But I want to hear your 2 cents.
Yeah. So one huge shout out to Celio because that goal rocked. That was incredible, regardless of the XG, the crosses, all that we're going to touch on. That was huge, and I really appreciate that because I saw so many people saying he's got the best smile in St. Louis. I haven't seen Celio smile in a bit. So having him hit a banger like that was absolutely huge for his confidence and for mine and him as well. I'm going to share screen real quick, Jake, on their goal. It's very quick. You barely even saw it if you were watching the game as well, because Falou Fall, one, I don't think he needs to be taking this throw in. That's mistake number 1. We are 4 yards from our own corner kick. You do not have the center back be over there and taking the throw in, because guess what? Then you leave the middle of the field wide open in front of your own goal, which is what happened there. And then number 2, you do not throw it short right here. You get that thing up the line. Padelford gets that thing up the line with his long throw in and get it halfway up there, and let's just move up the field. And then number 3, when Leuven gets this ball, not a terrible ball into Chris Durkin, but also I still don't like this whole thing of trying to play a ball with pace into somebody with their back to 100 yards on the goal, or 100 yards of space behind them. If you think about that, if the field's 120 yards long, he's at the top of the 18 about to receive this ball. His back, he has no clue where anybody else is. And honestly, Leuven puts a lot of pace on this ball, which is not the right time to do that. And Leuven's looking for a 1-2. You can see right after this, he makes the move to the inside. Are you looking for Chris Durkin to make you a one-time pass back into your own box? Probably not. He tries to take a touch. He has too much on it, and then he ultimately can't get it, and he turns it over. And then look at where we are. Falou Fall finally entering the pitch in the bottom corner. Too late, man. You're not making this back. One pass in. He's not recovering this. And then just absolutely roofed on Roman Berkey, and something that he is going to be extremely frustrated again with, on something that a lot of these goals he just cannot help because it's 1v1 point blank.
Yeah, this brings back, I mean, I've said this before, I just feel like every game, yeah, we're playing a team that has different jerseys and represent a different city on the pitch, but I feel like every game we constantly beat ourselves. And the other team helps as well. Like, right, if you give that chance to Musa, he's the guy that's going to do that. He's so clinical when he gets in front of goal on his minimal chances he gets with Dallas, but he doesn't miss. He's going to make that shot. And thank you for showing that video, Justin, because I think the outs, if I'm Critchley and I mentioned that that's not how we trained in that scenario, I think it's either Padelford taking that deep throw in and is just hoofing it as long as he possibly can up the field, or it's that quick 1-2 layoff with Leuven. You can see Durkin doesn't take that chance, and Leuven was calling for it, so maybe that was what drawn up. Either way, it also highlights the weakness with Chris Durkin, and being press resistant. Like, that's not the type of player that he is, especially so deep hemmed in with us. So a lot of different things come out in that goal. It's 3 minutes after we just scored, and it just brings back so many memories of how this season's transpired for us, and just not being able to hold a lead, almost just being weakened by being up in a game in a sense. But I'll fast forward, Justin, because after that, the red card was already there. It was already a factor the minute it came in. I'm pulling it up right now. The red card was in the 16th, I believe. Denial of a goal scoring opportunity on their backup goalkeeper. So their third string comes in, Jacob Jackson, who ended up making the team of the week for MLS, which if you're hearing that now and you haven't heard the rest of the game went, spoiler alert, what did he have? 13 saves, 12 saves?
Yep.
So I'm not going to talk through the rest of the individual stuff here. I do want to say, Justin, there were 60 crosses in this match. And I was looking back in our show notes and through the Twitter feed, through Transfer Market, to look at when we signed Peter Crouch and decided that we had like a tenacious, aerial duel winner as a forward, because 60 crosses is unbelievable. 1 for us, 2 for any team in this league. And in one game, it's unbelievable. These last 2 games, we have gone almost 100% leaning into the cross, and it is not a good way to generate a consistent attack. If you want to get behind the numbers and the analysis behind that, give our friend at Chat City Tactics on X, on Instagram, a follow and look at his most recent post. He had some incredible puns in there with the crucifixion, the cross. Like, we were the ones crucified on this night because all we wanted to do was get the ball wide and serve it in. And there were some better ones, right? There were some good crosses. There were some bad crosses, but no one could win these crosses. And when we did, they weren't good enough. When they were on goal, they were slow. They weren't in the right area. And my big thing here, Justin, is if I'm a coach, I'm going to play up a man for most of the match. I wouldn't just say, let's just cross for the rest of the time. And one of these will go in for us and we'll get this goal and we'll get this lead because we have an extra man on the pitch. There is space out there to be won. Let's tease them out. Let's counter on them. Let's create overloads. Like, we have more people than them. The fact that we're letting them just get congested in the box and just sit back and defend like that, you're making Dallas's life so damn easy. And I was just watching, I'm like, it was infuriating. Like, this is rudimentary.
Right. Exactly, Jake. And I think that unfortunately I was pretty upset, not pretty, when I was rewatching this game, because I did not watch the entire thing at the wedding. I went back and rewatched. When you're dribbling down the sideline, take the chance, take the guy on. And to your point, Jake, you're not going to get countered because we have an additional guy. If anything, they had their most front man is now on their back line, not the guy individually like Musa, but they're bringing guys back to fill this. And so why don't you try to take these guys on and dribble into the box and or do a cutback and recirculate to the top? The fact that we're just whipping it in just because we can and we have some space there, it's going to be to a group that is then matched in the middle of the box. I was just overly frustrated with this, Jake. It just made absolutely no sense to me. But great call out to you. Mike on Chat City Tactics put together a long explanation on this game just earlier today, 4 hours ago. So go check it out at Chat City Tactics on X. It's a great read.
Yeah, I mean, it was death by crucifixion, man. Like, I don't know why we picked that. And like, by the way, crossing sometimes is fine. It's just not a good probability chance, right? You got to have great delivery, great timing on the ball. You got to have the right crosser on the ball. You have to have a great run and someone that can get up and attack it and put it goal bound and put it away. So it's like there's so many things that have to go right on crosses. And I think in Mike's analysis, he mentioned it. I think when you quantify it, it gets down to like a low 1% chance on these actually being converted into goals. So why we decided to just pile on the crosses and like these crappy, poor expected goal level shots is just beyond me. Like you said, Justin, grow some balls, do an overload, do something you're not maybe the most comfortable in. You have men, right? Like if you lose the ball, do something stupid. We'll run back. We'll get back. We have more people than them. They're tired. They're running around the whole game. We had the ball in their third for almost the entire second half, but all we were willing to do was funnel it out wide to one of Wallem or Celio and had them to play some service. And some of them, again, were good. Like, they were good services. Some of them were not, and they got fizzled out. But Dallas carried no threat at all in that second half, and we let them off so easily. I just cannot believe you keep going back to the same well over. It's like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Like, and again, we're not coaches. I don't have my license, right? My ABC, whatever you want to say. But I know that is a bad idea. I didn't hear it directly talked about in some of the press conference, but it just, again, Justin, I'm looking at like Critchley and I'm like, you can try some things here, man, right? Because this isn't your job, right? You were given this as an interim basis. You know what to expect. They were expecting to play against a 5-4-1, more of that lower block. Why are you having maybe certain personnel, like I can think of like a Betcher at times in here versus like an Ostrak, where you're gonna have a lot of the ball. This guy's just better on the ball. Make that sub sooner. So again, this is a new low for me. That's kind of why I dub it new highs, new lows. New highs in certain stats and categories, and new lows just because I just don't know how many teams have lost a game, or it felt like a loss, or even drawn a game like this, Justin. I've never seen it before in my life.
No, I will. Another highlight on this, which is actually probably a low light for us, Jake, is those Dallas Burn jerseys are sick. I kind of hope that we had some kind of St. Louis throwback, and I know that we're probably not in the highest of markets for jersey sales to be able to hit that, but one thing I did want to bring up as well, Jake, what are your thoughts on a sub on the subs in this game? So think about it. You got a red card that happens in the 17th minute. You go up in what was it, like the 30th, and then we let up a goal in the 33rd. So 3 minutes later, somewhere in the 30s. And then we don't make a sub except for McSorley in the 68th. And then Totlin for Padelford in the 75th, along with Ostrak for Celio there. I don't know if I really understand. I get the McSorley for Betcher. I don't know if I truly understand the Totlin for Padelford or Ostrak for Celio. Is it just a
Yeah,
leg thing? Shake it. And I understand people are like, well, something's not working, so you got to shake it up. I don't know if that's always the case with the guys when we're looking at this bench right now, because I don't know what you're shaking up by getting Toland in there for Padelford. Maybe a little bit more get forward there. And then Ostrak for Celio, got to be a legs thing. But like Celio just had a banger. He's probably gassed from getting up and down the pitch, but let the man play the full 90 because he is the most talented guy that we have taking on 1v1. And you know, when you're up a man, he's going to be left. Their defenders are going to be left on an island, and he's going to be going at these guys.
yeah. I think I don't actually don't mind like who came in for who. I think I would have just gone a little bit earlier. Like the moment that red card happens, my mind as the coach is like, okay, well, I don't need Chris Durkin anymore. He doesn't offer anything, going forward, and that's what we need now. Is like we need to put the knife in and twist it, and he's not going to do that for you. I think Ostrak was my pick to come in early. Toland, man, I'm just happy he entered the game. Like he hadn't played in months. I cannot believe what we're doing with him, just languishing on the bench while you're playing someone that you may not even have on the team come the beginning of next season on in Wallem. And by the way, he played well. I'm fine with Wallem playing in that position. I'm fine with Wallem playing. It's just that why don't we play the guy that we're going to have in the team moving forward? And why don't we play this guy to get him back in, and back fresh, especially when things aren't going right? It just, I question the decisions. I liked Big Sorley as well. I think he had a good cameo. He looked lively, he looked kind of a continuation of the form that we saw in the life that he brought in that Aston Villa friendly. So I don't really have too much to say about the subs themselves. Just when I look at the bench, it's Orozco, Yarrow, Hebert, Baumgartel, Morales. That's like all defenders, right? Or defensive minded players. So I guess we went full attacking besides Toland in our subs. I don't think the problem comes down to there, Justin. One of the things I picked up in the presser was that when this team has minimal space, our problem is how we sort of operate in those minimal spaces. And when you're playing a man up, it seems counterintuitive to have less space. That's because you get into the final third and then everything gets really tight, where you might have had 5 to 6 yards before, you might have only 2 to 3 yards now, because they just are going to really compact themselves in the box and around the box and make it difficult to you. And I don't think we as a team, and Critchley has said as much, we're doing enough off the ball, like checking the ball to kind of tease your defender out of position, or just kind of get them to shuffle and just break that structure, that solid compactness. Get them a little bit uncomfortable, get them moving, making a run for a teammate, not for your own purpose, but so someone else can do something else in behind you or off the side of you or combination. I just don't think I think the guys just knew, like, all right, we're going to get one of these crosses at some point. So no need to try a different avenue or try to build up centrally or try to do things centrally, like off the ball movement. Let's get it out wide and everyone just crash the box and hopefully something goes in. Like, it just really felt like CYC stuff out there. I just can't believe what we had to watch for 70 minutes there. And people made comments, Justin, about the stoppage time. Like, oh, there's 4 minutes. I agree. I don't think that represents how much stoppage there was, because Dallas was milking all the clock they could. But you could have given us another 30, and I don't think we'd have scored.
Yeah, I was about to say, what we literally had an extra man for 80 minutes, and we're complaining about the last 4 minutes of that, because we're really going to do something in that time. But honestly, Jake, is there anything else that you have for this game? Otherwise, I'm going to throw it into an old segment on where do we go from here.
No, I'm just kind of lost at the moment. We've played some really crappy teams recently, and crappy even by our standards. Like, I just think Houston, Dallas, those are games we should absolutely at least be in and win. Oh, the boys, US just went up again 2-0. Balogun on the score sheet here. You might be a little bit behind me. Sorry for spoiling that for you. You love to see this. We can't have all of our teams be so shitty. So this is good. This is good. But and pardon my French as well. It's just been that type of a week, man. But yeah, no, I'm just frustrated, man. And the injuries are now dissipating, which is good. But now we go to Montreal, another bad team on paper. I just don't feel that great about it. But we'll talk about it.
I feel fine about it, Jake, because guess what? We kind of need to make a little push here against a team that's already eliminated from the playoffs mathematically, and it shows. So talking about the Wooden Spoon specifically, Toronto, they have a game in hand and they have 25 points. Then you have Montreal and DC, who are both eliminated and in the Eastern Conference, and they have 24 points each. We're sitting with 22 points, same amount of games left as them. We each have 5. And then LA Galaxy is only behind us by 2 points, and they have a game in hand. So for anybody that doesn't know what that means, if LA Galaxy wins, they will have 23 points and the same amount of games left as us at that point with 5. So LA Galaxy have 6 games left. A lot still to go here. But you got to get points here, Jake. In my opinion, Montreal, as we already mentioned, is eliminated. And what sucks is that we're going on the road for Montreal, and then we're going on the road again for San Jose. We only have 2 home games out of our last 5. And it's going to be a little bit of a tough stretch, but when doing the preview for this game, Montreal, I could not have named a single player on the team, and I still don't know if I really know the guys that I typed up.
Well, let's talk about it. I want to. Sorry, I thought of 2 more things. One, I think you will have seen and heard on social media. I want to hear your take because we haven't texted about it. And then second, being I want to hear your take on. Do you kind of remember like when you were playing soccer, Justin? Like there were certain guys up top that when they get the ball in a dangerous position, like they know what to do. They don't really freak out. Like they know either the pass is next or I need to take a touch out and hit this shot. I feel like we as a team really sort of freak out a little bit when we get into a dangerous area. I feel like we sort of jump and just like, oh, I gotta hit it, or I gotta pass like really quick. And I feel like when you act that way, that's maybe why we're going to cross is like, well, that guy's going to cross it. Like if it's on my path, like I can try to get up and go for it. But if we're not trying, more bold actions, essentially, for example, in combination play, and it doesn't come to someone's feet, like I just feel like we're taking the safe route. And I feel like it's because we have guys that do really stutter at times in attacking third. They just don't know what to do in those moments. So I want to hit you on that. And the second thing I want to hit you on is obviously on social media, all the buzz was the game. And then it quickly turned the next day to what happened with the Florida Cure banner, where they had made a banner. I'm not sure whether or not they had worked with the club up into that. Usually they do. So I'd be shocked if they did not. And they had Floor the Cure. And this is, by the way, benefiting Cardinal Glennon and that SSM as an organization. Just some context there. And then there's below was, I think it was kick childhood cancer to the sidelines. And they walked in, I think they got it through, and they were asked to basically tape up and block almost the entire sign. And to this day, there's been radio silence from the club on it. But obviously, everyone's had their say, and this is it, from a public perspective. I can see it's really harsh, right? Everyone and their mother agrees that we should kick childhood cancer to the sidelines. But from a partnerships or a corporate sort of perspective, maybe City doesn't want to get into bed with an organization or a fundraiser for an organization that they're not affiliated with professionally, right? Like I think they're more aligned to BJC, for example. So, I can see there's a little bit of a conflict of interest potentially there. I'm shocked it took to the game to get that all uncovered and addressed there because they would not have probably gone through all this. But the fact that they're radio silent on this, and we're hearing about it like leaked, Rockio is out there talking about how there's a source from inside the club saying that they had offered certain things and it sounded like they maybe tried to make it right. When things aren't going right on the sporting department, Justin, they've got to be nailing it on the business and operations side. And this is just concerning to me, right? It's just like these are the things you just got to get right, especially because all the spotlight's on you. You can't put a good product in the field. So at least make us feel loved, make us feel appreciated for coming to the game, supporting the team through all this. And don't make it hard to support good causes when you're a community first type club. So if anyone's listening from the club, got to do better. Absolutely have to do better on that front. It's just such a bad look. And if it's a bad look, you know what? Own it, apologize, move forward, make it right. It's not difficult.
Yeah, I think the hard part there, Jake, is, and I'm 100% on your side on this. I don't really fully understand how this wasn't like pre-approved. I think that's the hard part, because then I think from a PR perspective, and I don't want to muddy the waters with this because it's completely separate from the dude with the MAGA hat, but it reminds me of that in the sense that the club didn't comment on that. And I think because they're not commenting on these things is because if you comment, it brings it back up in the news. And I think if you make a comment, you're always going to have someone on the, well, you should have done this instead, or you should have done better with this, or it should have never happened. If you stay silent, it's going to continue to just kind of seep to the bottom. And I think that's what the club is going with this. I'm not saying that's correct. And I really hate to see that because I think that sign was awesome. They did handprints all over it as well. Yeah. And I mean, who doesn't want to kick childhood cancer? And like, I saw a lot of people, like obviously Lubin's wife is going through cancer and talking about all these things and how the club should be supportive of this. There's got it. I can tell you right now that Carolyn and the ownership group and all them, they would love to have that sign there. There's got to be some underlying reason. And I don't think they want to touch on we can't for legal reasons, because like I said, then you're going to have another uproar of people. So I'm assuming and hoping that's the reason they're not commenting on this. But I'm 100% with you. I really wish this would have got figured out ahead of time, because it's
Yeah.
sad to see, one, something like that should be supported by all, and two, the hard work that went into by the fan to put that together and march with it, have some awesome pictures with thousands of people behind them with the smoke. It gives me chills. Those pictures were awesome. And it's sad that it just got taken down and taped up, because I hated to see that on Twitter. But yeah, I think it's a tough one. And hopefully it never happens again.
Yeah. Message to the sporting department and the business operations department: do better. Let's get into Montreal preview here, Justin. We've never played Montreal, and I was talking to my wife yesterday, and I was saying this Justin would be high on my list of a trip to get to if I did not just have another child here, because I've heard Montreal is an awesome city to go to. I know it's a hike, but we do have direct flights, I believe, from St. Louis to Montreal. Those are relatively new, like last couple of years, but we've never played them before. We're not missing out on much. They've been an okay team in the last couple of years. Nothing worth writing home about. But this year, current standing 14th in the East, so they're not in our conference, on 24 points, 5-15-9. So 15 losses to boot for Montreal. 29 goals for, 51 against. A negative 22 goal differential. But on the home front, Justin, some positivity for us. I guess a lot of that was positive before that for us as well. But 2 wins at home this season, 7 losses, 5 draws. Most recently, they had a 4-1 loss in July against Miami, who's 6th in the East right now, which is shocking. And 2-0 loss against Chicago, 9th in the East right now. A 1-1 draw against Atlanta, 12th in the East right now. And a 3-2 W recently over Austin, who's obviously in our conference, and 7th in the West right now. They most recently just played a 1-1 draw against Toronto, who's 13th in the East. They've been better in the last couple of matches. They're in the top 10 right now in the last 5 at 2-3-0, win, draw, loss, and last 10 number 17, Justin. So gives you a sense of like they've gotten a couple of those 5 wins in these last 5 matches. So they've turned maybe a little bit of a corner, but this team knows who they are, right? They have come out and said this is a full rebuild. They've got players I've never even, like you said, heard of before, much less can like recognize anything about these names. They're young. There's a lot of potential around some of these guys. They've sold some big players. So I think they're fully bought in that they are in rebuild mode.
Yeah, Jake, sorry, I was pretty distracted just now. Do you know where Montreal is? My knowledge of Canada is terrible.
So
I have it on a map. So like, could you, if you were to guess which, I couldn't even tell you what time zone it was in for us. What state is it above?
What, like, is it close to that state though?
Yeah, it's very close to the states, and it's right above a state.
So I'm checking some cues here, right? Because it's gamed at 6:30 Central. So it's kind of like an Eastern time game for us. So I'm gonna skew that direction. Would it be above, like, it's not New York though, because that's like where Toronto is.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I know nothing about Canada. It's pretty much right above New York and
Oh,
Vermont.
is it? Okay, there you go.
Sorry, I really need to learn. Like, they just kind of have it figured out up here. We get all the little lines for the states. Look at these, just like Alberta, Saskatchewan, just like, yep, British Columbia. We're just going to give you guys sections of a country, and we're just going to move on from there. But sorry, I really need to do better about my Canadian geography.
I've heard though, another fun factor, Justin, like their main language is French.
Yeah.
So it's a very French city, and apparently they very proudly speak a ton of French. Like English is not very. I'm sure everyone speaks English too, but they don't want to speak English. They want to speak French.
Well,
In
then
Montreal.
you go with their head coach that then got relieved now, but Laurent Courtois.
Yeah.
And he started the season, and he was replaced back in April by Marco Donatel for the interim coach. And so you've seen this, and Jake, when I was filling out this, it makes a lot of sense that they are going through a little bit of turmoil right now, because you don't have, I already mentioned it, that when I was typing up about some of these guys, you don't know who they are. They're not very flashy, not a whole lot of highlights or lowlights, or sorry, not a whole lot of highlights, goals, assists, stat leaders here of that nature. And a lot of guys, they've been making transfers internally in the MLS this season, letting guys go, not bringing in a whole lot of guys. And also they've been pretty injury ridden. But if you want to talk about them just more generally, they're frequently in a 3-4-3, and then they switch a lot during games into a 3-5-2 or even a 4-2-3-1, similar to what we have played, in between a dual striker setup, depending on who they actually have available. Because as we mentioned, they have been pretty injury ridden and throwing some guys around. So in possession, the wing backs do like to push high. You'll see that in some of the stats that we talk on later as well. And they like to get overlapped. And that's something that we've been wanting Totland to do, but it seems like this team is actually allowing it to do, because guess what? they have nothing to lose because they've already been eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, shocking. Wing backs, like you said, yeah, why those wide midfielders like to get up in the attack. They like to press and counter, like that very, very, very direct style of play. This is a team in terms of stats wise, bottom 10 in progressive carries and passes. So it's not pretty, it's quick. That's how they prefer to attack. They don't want to get those defenses settled. They want to give them time to breathe. They want to just go right down their throats when that ball turns over. Defensively, Montreal, plays that back three, back five typically, and those wing backs, sort of come back. They get more and join like that, make that back five, and their midfield three really make that first line of defense, and the forwards jump back and they do a little bit of pressing, right? They get on the press, they get aggressive. Execution, from what I've seen and heard, can be a little bit on the inconsistent front, which you would expect from a rebuilding, very young and youthful team. But that can frustrate some of that defensive cohesion. When I looked at where their tackles get made, Justin, they're fourth in the league in the middle third type of tackle. So think about your mid block. And top 10 the defensive third. So they don't really get out on the press in terms of getting us where we're building up and on defense in our own third. They do draw a line more in that middle to defensive third. Home team, Justin, number 30, dead last in the league in terms of points per game. So the worst team at home. Expected goals, the second worst team in the league. At home, the third worst team in the league. So the expected goals, the attacking, has just really been a weak point for them throughout the season. Expected goals against defensively has been a little more average. At home, they skew a little bit worse to number 20. And in the halves, a little bit better in the first half. At home, they're the 20th best teams in the first half. At home in the second half, again, just remember, second half, whistle blows second half, and it runs out in the 90 plus whatever. This team is the worst team in the leagues at second halves at home. So things you don't want to be associated with if you're Montreal, even in a rebuild, to be such a weak home team where you really know you need to generate most of, if not, a good portion of your points, as we know very well from our 2023 campaign. It fills you with a sense of optimism. If you're St. Louis City, like, this is our get right game, hopefully. I know we're going away, but you're playing the worst home team in the league.
Yeah, the one thing I also want to mention, Jake, I got excited because I was pulling up DraftKings when you mentioned that they are the worst second half team in the MLS, because you usually like to throw a little on the City to score in the second half, so we need to be looking at that. But, Jake, get ready for a slow game, because guess what? Montreal leads the league in fouls suffered, and it's not just by a little bit. They have 386. That is 22 more than Sporting Kansas City in second place. That is a ton of fouls suffered per game, saying if you're, say they have 30 games right now, they're averaging almost 13 fouls suffered per game. So this is going to be one where you're going to be seeing us. Chris Durkin, you better get off the field, because for the love of God, I swear to God, if we give up a free kick and a free kick goal and/or PK on Mr. Roman Bricky, there's going to be some hell to pay. But what can we do to get at these guys, Jake? I love that you have this in here. Exploit their defensive errors. Montreal tends to give up space during their transitions. Quick, sharp passing and counterattacks would be very effective. And I think that's something that we've ultimately tried to put and ingrain as a club. And I would love to see it come true and come to fruition in this. When you're thinking about it, they make a turnover, we go. That's when, if you have Celio and a Betcher on the wings, you just put the head down and you get upfield. You let Leuven look to try to ping you a ball. We get the ball into Klaus, up back through, look for a little nature on that. I would also, and when we're doing those, if Celio and Betcher can't get the ball, or if they do get the ball and they can't beat the defender, get some overlaps from Padelford, maybe Totland, whoever's playing it right and left back at this one, because I would like to see us get forward and then not cross it. Get the overlap, then try to take the defender on, try to find feet, see if we can keep it up and around their box. And then lastly, we need to try to limit plays to Owosu up front, because honestly, he is a big boy. I was looking at this as already, Jake. He's a 6'3" left-footed German forward. And this is not a guy that I want us trying to make mistakes out of passing out of the back like we did in the last game and giving this guy any daylight, because he has 12 goals and 5 assists already this season. He just got signed in the offseason from Toronto after having 9 goals last season. So this guy knows how to finish.
Yeah, that's the one guy that I actually had heard of, was Owusu. And I know you'll talk about him a little bit more, and we'll talk about more of their players here. But defensively, against that type of buildup where those wing backs get super involved and get high up the pitch, crowd those flanks out. Like, let's get our own numbers out there to make and force them to come narrow. Like, chances are they want to build out on the wide parts, maybe serving some crosses as well. So let's force them to play centrally. I don't think their midfield is their strongest of suits. So, don't let them have those wide overloads, those overlapping runs. Or if they do, make sure we have numbers out there to support. And secondarily, pressure the ball. There's a team that isn't great on the ball in possession. So make sure that when they're building up or they're just kind of getting started in their defensive third, rattle them. Get them off. You know what I mean? Like, get on them very, very tight, show a little bit of a press. Again, they just have not shown to be one of the best teams. They have coughed up the third most defensive errors leading to a shot. So can we force some mistakes? Get up in their grill per se, and see if we can just throw off any sort of attacking momentum they might have. Justin, before we break into the players besides Owusu, I did want to give our Schmidtken's injury law firm ball watching STL injury report. And I'm going to flip it here, and we're going to do them because ours is just toy shirt. But unlike our boys in red, an injury off the pitch shouldn't upend your life. The Schmidtken's injury law firm fights to obtain fair compensation for people who have been injured in car wrecks, trip and fall cases, and on the job. If you or someone you know has been injured, give Rob a call at 314-222-4223 to discuss your case. And mention ball watching for a free consultation. You won't pay unless Rob wins your case. So make sure you give him a call or check him out at www.hurtinstl.com. The choice of a lawyer is important when it should not be based solely on advertisements. They're missing some key personnel here, Justin. I was looking at the four that come to mind. They're also missing some other folks, like Caden Clark, because they just transferred him away, who they had just gotten, I believe, this past season as well. A young, exciting 22-year-old. But on the injury front for Montreal, Giacomo Vrioni, I believe, was with the Revolution before this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He's out with a muscle injury, multiple injuries this season, including an elbow that sidelined him for 5 games. Has just 3 goals this season, over four full 90s coming from the Revs, where he still is a DP for them. So a really bummer in terms of getting the value out of them. And then updates today, Justin, thanks for bringing this in from practice. Samuel Piet has an abdominal injury, plans to return this weekend, so they will be having him available. Fabian Herbers, trained today as well, had a lower body muscle injury. By the way, why is soccer all of a sudden like wanting to become hockey on these like namings of injuries? It's stupid. He missed the past 5 games due to injury, but he has been training, so could be ready for this weekend. And then Jalen Neal, who I have watched before, he's the Galaxy before this, a very prospect, big body, big frame athletic center back. He has an ankle injury, suffered that in July, then appendicitis in August. Guy cannot get off the bench, and he hasn't really played true minutes since June. So we might miss out on him. We'll be 50-50 on Herbers, but it sounds like P8 will be back. No Vrioni. Montreal has definitely had some of that bug that we had.
Yeah, Jake, I was doing some heavy research on this. I found some random dude on Twitter that like attends their practices. But so for those 3 guys, P8, Herbers, and Neal, they warmed up and they played a little bit with the team today, but very limited role in the actual practice. So we'll see all 3 of them. So we'll see if they are actually able to make it onto the pitch. I mean, it's Tuesday, so they still have another 5 days or so to be able to turn that around. But these guys have been out for a while, so I think everybody was excited to actually see them back with the squad, from my understanding. So, but yeah, you mentioned Caden Clark, 22-year-old midfielder. He led the team with 6 assists, but was just sold to DC for $700,000 with a possible additional $100,000 conditional and a sell-on percentage. So they are doing outgoings. They're like, hey, we're eliminated. Screw it. Let's deal some guys, try to get some cash here or there. But the guys that they do have, we already talked about Prince Owusu, the 6'3", left-footed German forward. He has 12 goals and 5 assists this season, obviously leading the team in that category for goals, and now in that category for assists since they got rid of Caden Clark. Then you have Dante Seeley, 22-year-old left-footed U.S. men's national team, had a couple caps there. Yep. He was signed in the offseason after 5 seasons with FC Dallas as a homegrown. He has 6 goals and 1 assist. So those are their 2 main guys, both left-footers. Let's just make sure that we note that when you're watching the game, because it's not I will say, as a defender, it's never something that you're ready for, because it's always better to be jockeying back on your left. Now you're going to be switching and turning your hips. And yes, these MLS players have done that plenty, but it's always a mindset shift, especially when you have 2 of them. So, and then lastly, I saw you throw this guy's name in there. I'm like, why do we care? He has like no stats for this team. Matty Longstaff. I didn't recognize his name until I went and looked him up. 25-year-old Englishman, came over from his boyhood club, Newcastle, where he was on loan for a number of years with a couple different clubs over there, with reaching a $5 million market value when he was over there before his contract kind of ran out over there, and he decided to come over to the States, but he actually went north as well to Toronto in 2024. He just signed with Montreal last month in a trade with Toronto.
Oh boy. Yeah. So I mean, it gives you a better sense for who we're coming up as. And again, I don't think it's all that important. Like this Prince Owusu is definitely a forward. I would say similar in profile in terms of how we should treat it to what we just witnessed with Musa last week. And like that's the shining light for them. If you give him daylight, he will take it. So you cannot do that. You gotta swallow up those opportunities for that star forward. Otherwise, this is something that we can handle. Even in the pits that we've been in this season. But Justin, let's talk about who we think we should see donning the what is it, the gray and city red kits in Montreal here through our Hoffman brothers predicted starting 11. Before we do, Justin, one side note: we're not out of it yet. False fall has come and gone. 2 more days and we're back in the 90s, those mid 90s. It'll be hot and humid here in St. Louis. Hopefully not for very long, but you guys thought you were there and you're not. So a reminder to make sure that you were in the good graces or in some sort of relationship with Hoffman Brothers, hopefully a home protection plan, so they can come out to you, do your annual tune-ups for your furnace, your AC, and just get you all squared away, get you prioritized service appointments, and just get to you with discounts in terms of any sort of repairs or needs you might have underneath the roof. So just your reminder there. Yeah, False Fall is coming and going. We'll get back into the blazing hell of summer for maybe another couple days or a week or two. And then we'll be back into what might feel as the real fall before winter begins right after that. So make sure you get with Hoffman Brothers.
Jake, I think we have a false fall back into just straight St. Louis September heat. If you haven't looked at it, it's 81 today, great. 86 tomorrow, 87, 89, 93, 91, 91, 91, 88, 87. So do not walk, run. Do not try to use your landline. Get to Hoffman Brothers, or if you need to, call them at 314-664-3011 or visit them at hoffmanbros.com. They're going to take care of you, and they're going to be taking care of you soon as well with another giveaway coming up, Jake. So I'm excited for that.
So here's what I think here, Justin. I think we're going to have the ball in this game, and I think we know that from the start. I know they're going to be at home, but I expect us to have the ball more so than Montreal in this game. And I think if we want to really make a stamp, I think we should have the ball. So what I'm thinking here is I've put players on that I think can do more with the ball, and also giving us some different profiles in case we do want to try different things like going more vertical or in behind or whatnot. So my 11 that I would think about here is Berkey, Padelford, Fall, Kessler, Totland in my back line. And then Leuven, again, keeping his place, holding in the central midfield. I'm going to push Wallem up again because I think he's playing well enough and he offers so much, even from the right back spot in possession. He's one of the most technical players we have, especially in the 11. So I want to keep him going and keep him humming. Again, I have to feel like if we're playing him this much, we do have a future with him. We do want to do something with him. So I'm thinking there's something in the works there. I'm going to push Hartel back out to the left, put Ostrak underneath of Klaus, and welcome Sang Bin back from South Korea men's national team duty and go right back to the right wing where he'll be hungry, I'm sure. Not playing a lot of minutes with South Korea, only got a couple with the friendly against us, the U.S. men's national team, a couple days ago. We'll see what he plays tonight against Mexico, but I'm sure he'll be chomping at the bit. And he gives you that something different, right? So that'd be my 11. What do you think?
I'm good with your back four. I'm good with Leuven and Wallem because I like seeing Wallem, and I think he's creating chances and something that we really appreciate there because I don't think that, again, I already mentioned that Montreal leads the league in fouls suffered, which means that Durkin would likely get another red card. So let's keep him out of there for a full 90. But no, I'm actually going to throw Celio back in there up on the upper left. I like his confidence. I like the way he played last game. I think he deserves to get a starting spot. So I'm going to go Celio, Hartel, and Sang Bin with Klaus up top. I do think that Sang Bin's going to come back and ready. He is kicking off here in 6 minutes. This is Tuesday night, September 9th at 8:24 p.m. They're playing Mexico here in 6 minutes. He is on the bench for South Korea. He did get 7 minutes against the U.S. men's national team, so that's pretty cool as well. So it's not like he's going a long way. He'll be able to be coming back up because I believe it's down in Mexico City. So he should be back in town probably tomorrow at some point. So he'll have a couple days to get back into the groove of things, and I wouldn't be surprised if we just throw him straight back out there. But I'm going to go Celio on the left with Hartel in the middle, Sang Bin, and then Klaus up top.
Okay. So let's do goals and predictions here. For me, I want to see sometimes less is more. right? We hear that, I feel like, in our lives and in our jobs maybe sometimes. And yeah, like what, having 40 shots, like whoa, cool, 40 shots, but like 38 of them were so crappy. So I want to see us prioritize really, really good opportunities. Maybe take that extra pass, maybe take the extra touch, maybe take an extra second to just compose yourself and look for the best possible opportunity. There will be opportunities for us in this game. There just absolutely will be. I know they're playing a back five. There will be times where we get behind or we get a chance, and I want us to seize those. And I think you can do that when you're composed. So I want us to play as if we've been there before, right? And I know that's hard to just manufacture out of nowhere, but I want us to play with a certain sort of know-how in this match. And I think my goal or my game prediction, that's my goal. My game prediction is going to be a 2-1 W on the road here. We've shown we can get 2 goals for the most part, not last game, despite all odds. But I do think we can get the dub here and mount, a good threat to a really young and shaky, youthful team. We're also very biased here. I predicted wins for probably like the last like 7 games. I predicted actually a draw last game, so I got that right, just not 1-1. So I do think we get the win here, though. That is my headline. I do think we get this win against all odds away in Montreal. The boys hopefully have a nice little Sunday daytime in Montreal and can enjoy the weather and enjoy some scenes and experience that winning feeling.
I would agree with you on this. My goal for the game is very similar to yours. It's just be clinical. If we get a chance, let's finish it. I think these fans deserve something, especially as we're going on the road for 2 weeks. I'd really like to see us put some points on the board. And I'm actually going to go with 3-1 dub, Jake, because I do think that we're creating chances. If you want to go back to the 3 straight 3-2 losses, and now we put up 40 plus shots on in the game, plus 60 crosses, all these things. I think we're there. I think we just need to be clinical and actually prove that we can do this. So I'm going with a 3-1 dub. Which would actually lead directly into I'm taking City over 1.5 on DraftKings at -125. One thing when I was scrolling down and trying to find a fun little goal score, which I do think Joao Klaus will get a goal at +170, I might put a little sprinkle on a anytime goal scorer, Conrad Vollum, 11-1. But also, Jake, when I saw this, it kind of shocked me, and I was like scrolling to see who else is on here. A name that we have not said in so long, Akil Watts. Do you know how many minutes
Yeah.
he's gotten since July? Since the end of June, once July kicked off, he's gotten 32 minutes for this team.
Yeah. I
What
mean,
happened there? Is that like with a Critch thing? Because I not gonna lie, I'm not upset about it, but I was kind of like scrolling the name, like, oh my god, I kind of forgot that this guy is even around.
yeah, I think it's just a return to form and return to health for a lot of guys, and he just shifts down the table as you would expect for the most part. But I just think we have a lot better options than him, both in midfield. I just think about like the depth chart, right? Like you got like Leuven, you have Wallum, you have Ostrak, you have Durkin, you have Morales. I mean, I just don't know where Watts fits into that picture in midfield, which is supposed to be like where he plays. And I'm saying that with quotes, air quotes. And then on the fullback side, it's like, well, now you have Padelford, which is definitely eaten into his minutes for sure. You have otherwise on the left, we're pretty empty, right? Like Wallum could go back there, I guess, in a pinch. And then you have Totlin on the right. You had Zelensky, who we just loaned away to ND11 to finish out the season. You have Wallum, who also fills in there as well. And a lot of people can fill in at right back. I'm not worried about that. But it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, Justin, I mean, it's like him, Yarrow, were just leaned on for matches on matches. And then snap of a finger, they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to bring that, you want to talk about someone else that was just absolutely leaned on and then just snap finger, they're gone. Was Kyle Hebert.
Yep.
I know we're kind of getting a little off track here, but I'm just like bringing up names. It's like we're talking about guys from like years ago. Like, no, Hebert had played 19 games, starting 17 of them. He has not seen legitimate minutes since he started back on June 25th. Since then, he's played 14 total minutes for this team.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, times have definitely changed. We're seeing the U.S. wrap up here with 2-0 a dos acero dub against Japan. It's a big win for the program and the vibes. Like, I think this is a totally different team that we just witnessed in this game. I wasn't able to watch very closely the second half, but we were the better team from everything that I saw for the footage. So I'm excited about that for the men's national team fans in here. And Justin, we both predicted wins. We do not have anything more than a loss in the last 5 games in the road. So hopefully City can not catch the same virus, or we can just shake off whatever we've got going on here and just finish the season in some style. Again, all we're asking for is high energy, high octane, aggressive, front foot soccer. If you don't win, but you play a fun product and you look like you want it out there, that's all we can ask for you. Like the season's over and in the results perspective for us. I know we're not eliminated technically yet, but I just want to see pride out there, right? I want to see guys playing with pride. And I hope that they go do that in Montreal. I think it's a good opportunity. It's a fun city to go to. Hoping the guys enjoy it, and I'm hoping that we enjoy a little 6:30 Saturday night kickoff.
Absolutely. And quick shout out, like you said, to the U.S. men's national team with the 2-0 dub. You have Balogun with a goal and also Zadejas with that one-time goal, assist from Pulisic and Arfston. And a shout out to Matt Freese, Jake. This is going to be a heater of deciding who's going to be our U.S. men's national team goalkeeper. He had 6 shots on goal, 6 saves, clean sheet for him, accurate passes, 71%. It's going to be a tough one. We're talking about a lot of the guys, and that's what I'm saying. Start getting excited, people. We're going to have a little bit of a break. I think these guys come back and play mid-October, so just like 3 weeks or so before we're back in the groove. Who knows what that group will look like? You mentioned that Poach already mentioned, though, that it should start being the legit guys coming back into form. So I'd like to see this, and let's start growing on it.
Let's do it. All right, man. Well, we'll wrap it up for today. Hopefully, you all enjoyed an hour of a plethora of soccer topics. Most of them City, but U.S. men's national team, SLU, City 2. And there will continue to mix in some things as we go along here, Justin. But we'll talk to you all next week in the wake of whatever happens with Montreal. Justin, safe travels abroad. Enjoy if we don't talk to you. And we'll have a guest to fill in for you next week. But in the meantime, all for City.
All for City.